Hey.
Hey, I promised it would pass, and it passed.
It did, yeah. We're doing something right.
And here are the tests for the new
Postman,
feature. They're there. They're working. They're passing.
Yeah.
So we are good to go. And I already did all the branch management, closing the issue, accepting the pull request. I did that off camera. And we are ready to move on to the next feature.
Okay.
Edit items.
I think this is the actual meat of the work.
Yeah.
Considering you don't want empty reminders.
We can finally have some reminders with things on it. Let's start with some API endpoints, shall we?
Specifications first.
Yeah, because we have a fair idea of what the feature will look like.
Exactly.
And we know what the front end is going to do. There is going to be an input box, and you're going to type something, and we need to change that in the server. So let's create a new
request.
Maybe I can just copy this one and rename it and go from there. Like edit items. Or the edit item, because we are editing one at a time. And
you make this a put request?
I will make this a put request.
Yes.
And I will keep the URL. Yeah. Because we are changing one particular item.
Yep. So whatever identifier you put in.
Yeah, I will keep the pre-request script because it will create an item for us and then put that item identifier
as a variable so that we can actually test
in this variable. Yeah. Exactly. And in the tests, I expect
this is going to be different.
Yeah, the tests are going to be slightly different. So the status I expect to be 204. That is fine by me.
No, 204. Well, technically, it's not creating, so it might work.
Yeah, let's look at the example. Because here in the example, I said 204. If I say 20, it tells me what the options are. Created, accepted, no content. I think 204 is the best.
Fine, yeah, okay. I was thinking 201, then that's the post request because that is what is actually creating anything. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think that 201 is in the create. I think that's what we do here in the create new to-do item.
Yeah, 201.
We say that it is a created thing. All right. So coming back here to our example of edit, we want this to be put. This is the example, right? Yeah. So here we have an explicit number. Number 7.
Which is the identifier.
But also in this request, we need to say what the description is.
Exactly. We can't send in empty strings like we've been doing right now.
So I propose...
And we can't put it in the URL, please.
Yeah, one thing we could do is probably have description here.
Equal to,
but
that's a bad idea.
Description equals
whatever. Hello, Yash.
Well, you like the hello, Yash now. Okay, so we could do something like this, but this is a bad idea. These kinds of things are usually for search forms, which is not the case here. So if you go to google.com and you put some search item,
parameter, something like that, you will see some manifestation of it in the URL. You will see it encoded and stuff like that. But yes, that's it.
But in this case, we want it to be in the
body itself and as form data. Yeah.
Description, whatever.
Yeah.
And this is like the form fields that you have in a form in the UI.
Yeah.
And
so
that's exactly what this is.
Exactly. So we're assuming that the user has input whatever in the text field on the client.
And we'll do just that in the user interface in a moment.
Yeah.
So we can save this example. It looks good to me. Coming back here to
the
tests.
We need to remove quite a few tests. They will screw up stuff.
The tests? Yeah. Let's see. So this one is okay.
Yeah,
let's go to the next one. Item is edited.
Yeah.
And I will send a request to this URL. What is this doing? Oh, so the main request that we are testing is going to change the description. So what I need here is to check that.
How do you check if it's been modified?
Well, I can. That's easy because I have a list of items. So in the response JSON, I have a list.
Yes.
I can get the last element because this was the most recently created thing.
That is fine.
And then I can get the description.
And say if it's not empty.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say here in the main request. I did that for the example.
Yeah.
But I also needed in the main request. I need some description.
As form data, description.
Some description. And now I can test that the description expect all this
PM dot, yeah.
to
include
equal this. Right? So here we are getting the most recent item.
Oh yeah, this is running a test, right? Yeah, okay.
And then
works.
getting its description.
Yeah, this can't be the logic you have on the server though.
No, the server needs to be smarter about getting the identifier and everything.
Exactly.
But this is good enough for the test because we are assuming that tests are going to run while the server is not doing anything else.
Yeah.
So there is no chance that someone is going to try to update an item while a test is running. Yeah. None of that. So we know that the last item is the one we just created in the pre-request script. Yeah. So we know that its description is going to be the one that is modified, and we can check that it's equal to the thing we just wrote here in the form. Yeah. And then the status code is 404.
Yeah, that's okay. Method post put though.
Yes.
Can you scroll up? Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So I think that these tests are good, and of course they will not pass.
Yeah. Go to the console.
Yeah, they will not pass because the server is not running.
They will still not pass. I will tell you why.
So before we do this, let me come here to the database. I need to delete some items. I was playing with this yesterday, and these items have been edited. And commit all that to the database. Awesome. So now we start the server. They will not pass, you say.
Yes.
But tell me why.
Because
we have not implemented the feature?
No. Oh, right. You have it. You had it in an example. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
They will still not pass because we've not written code for it.
Yeah. That's an excellent reason for the thing not to pass.
No, I was thinking that there wouldn't be the identifier 7, but that's not what it is because I just confused it with the example that we wrote.
Yeah, this is an example. It's like for...
It doesn't run...
It's for documentation purposes.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't run the example. It runs the actual test itself, which specifies for us item identifier. If we put in 7 there, it would not work.
Exactly, yeah. That's a great point, by the way. When we are running the main request here and its tests, we are never touching the examples. The examples are for documentation purposes.
It's an idea, yeah. You look at it and you say, okay, this is how our request expects something done, so we just do that.
I would even propose that if you may start with some examples to think about how the request should go, and that's exactly what we did. And then when we are done with it, if you have good enough tests, they are the documentation. I mean, look at this. Item is edited. Status code is 204. That is documentation. You could get rid of the examples if you wish. It's kind of good to have them there because these sorts of things may be harder to read. But still.
Exactly. If nothing else, when someone else is looking at your collection, they can know, okay, this is the exact request that can be written and it will run. So that's generally a good pointer to have. Yeah, despite the fact that, yes, I can understand this code, but still.
The bad part is that if you change the tests for some reason, the server is now returning at 200, let's say.
Yeah, you need to change,
You need to remember to change the examples. It's like with any documentation, then they can go stale.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tests are not passing, and I suppose that it is because the server has not implemented the feature.
Yes.
Yeah, so here we are getting an assertion error because
it's not there.
empty is not equal to some description. So let's go to the... what is weird is that some tests are passing.
Yeah.
The tests are passing because they are failing with
some other
a bigger error, and then this passes. I don't know exactly why, but this is a Postman thing that we can ignore. So yeah, we need to make the tests pass by implementing the feature on the server. And I suppose that we can again start with this.
And go from there.
Because it will be similar in some ways. For instance, the identifier will be in the URL. We don't need delete, but
put.
I'm trying hard. Put. And here we don't want to do this kind of statement. We don't want to delete. We want to update items, and we want to set the
description.
The description to equal to something where the identifier is equal to something. So in this case, we want the parameter 2 to be the identifier. That's the second question mark. That's the identifier. and we want the parameter 1 to be
the description.
Yes. And in this case, we are not getting it from the path.
Yeah, that's
we are getting it from a form.
Yes.
So it's a form param called description.
Yeah.
And it's not an integer, so we don't need this part. It's going to be a string, so we have to say set string.
Yeah. So what happens here is it's actually looking at the body of the request, and that has a key and a value, the key being description, and the value, I think we have some description, but yeah, okay. And then you go from there.
Yeah. And here I want exactly this logic to happen. If I can find an item to update,
then you get, a 204. It's 204, otherwise it's 404. I think that's fair.
And close the statement and everything. Also, another thing is, remember the last episode when we were writing this line, which is equivalent to this line, these are the same. I said that you could try to do this integer class, and that didn't work. Well, I learned why.
Why?
You have to say get in the end. This is a Javalin thing. It will convert the string that is the string containing a number into an integer for you. So we can do it like this.
No, don't do that. Stick with the Java thing.
Why?
Standard.
Is it going to fail if I have something that is not a number here?
Don't.
Also, could I do it with something that is not a primitive, like integer? I mean, I could put something like, if I had something more sophisticated in this field, I could have something like a date. It would work for that. And I would have to do some shenanigans to parse a date.
Yeah, that's true.
So I kind of like this. It's called a validator in Javalin, and there is a section on the documentation about validation. I kind of like this pattern. Which one do you prefer? This one or this one?
See, the only thing is it's not standard across the language. Like, it's a framework thing.
You prefer this one then?
Yeah, but your points are valid, because if I pass in a date, it will fail. Or if I pass in something else, it will fail. Integer.parseInt will not parse anything but integer. Like we tried, right? 51039 is based on that.
But that is a problem that I think the Javalin thing will also run into, because I think it will, under the hood, try to do this for us.
Oh, then it makes no sense to have the Javalin thing. I thought it was a specific validator that they had. Like, so you mentioned dates, right? They look for a pattern for a date and they try to parse that.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how that works, but if you're happier with this one, that's
think
what
just
we're
because
going to
it's standard, so.
Yep. So with that, we can rerun the server and try out the tests.
Yeah.
And they're all passing.
Can you open the console anyways?
In Postman?
Yes, I want to see again. The last, Body,
The response body is going to be empty.
Yeah, okay.
Are you happy?
Fine. Yeah.
Okay. In fact, this was the test for 404.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to check particularly. Fair. Open 32 actually.
Yeah.
And go to the response body.
The response body is still going to be empty. The request body, on the other hand, has the description right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So now we have. Let's go to GitHub to keep track of this. We have the API endpoints.
Yes, we have the Postman tests.
We have the Javalin server, and we tried to use the Javalin validator. We looked at it.
Did not turn out well, yeah.
Yeah. So now, and we have
that
404.
Yeah.
I think that the only thing missing is the UI, right?
Yeah.
So let's go there. Let me open Chrome, because we want to look
Standard DevTools from the toolbox.
So here we have the description.
Yeah, it's actually there. The Postman test passes.
Yeah, the Postman test is running against the same server that we are running here. So we see now some descriptions. Excellent. And they are being rendered as text. I cannot change them. So I want to render them in
text
input
fields. Yeah, input fields.
Yeah. So here, let's come to the area where we are rendering this. It's right here in this part of the code. So here it's just rendering as text.
Yeah.
I could render this as part of an input type text and say that the value is
item description.
Now, rerun the server, refresh in Chrome.
But can you change this? No.
I cannot. It doesn't work. But that's odd. Why? I mean, I just have something in the text field. Well,
should it not be mutable?
It's mutable by default. So what is happening here is something weird in React. Let's go to the console. It's warning us against
You
this.
need to wrap it in a React object?
Yes, more or less. Let's look into this. So it's saying that I provided a value.
Yeah, no on-change handler. Okay. Yeah.
I provided a value.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying what happens when you try to type something.
Edit, yeah.
And this turns the field into a read-only field.
Yep.
Why is that? Well, usually, if you're not using React, the value is just the initial value of the text field, and you are able to type things in. But the thing is, every 200 milliseconds, every 200 milliseconds, React is going to the server, getting new data, and rendering it.
Yeah.
And that's good, because if the data changes on the server, we want to see it on the client. So let me show you this by inspecting the database in IntelliJ. At the same time, I have the application open. So I can edit the first item here to say
test description.
Test.
Yeah.
And then
commit there. That's going to be weird.
It is.
Yes, there it is.
So you can see it updates automatically. I didn't have to refresh things here.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, which is good. That's why we are using React in the first place. The problem is if you try to type something, it immediately gets overridden by the value coming from the server.
Database, yeah.
Not what we want. So here, to solve this, we want to, to say what happens when you change something, what happens when you type something. And I find that React is super smart to give that warning. I think that's awesome. I think it's a great reason for
which handler to use.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why we have React in the toolbox this year. It is good. It's giving us good error messages. We can go by them, and if you understand a bit of what's going on, you can see that.
Actually, just change it accordingly.
Yeah. And to say what we want to do here, this is
going to be complicated again.
Not really complicated, but it's going to be a huge hack.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a hack.
When is it not a hack?
Because what we are going to do here is for each keystroke, we are going to send.
Oh my God!
We are going to send a request to the server to update it. We are going to send that put request for each keystroke. It's a huge hack, but it's the simplest thing that can work.
Okay.
And that's what we are going for here. So here's what we have to do. We have to fetch. And it's going to be similar to this, right? It's going to be similar to fetching to delete. So again, I'm copying that and I'm pasting it here. But this time, instead of just fetching with delete, I will fetch with put.
Yep.
And I will give it some data, right? I have to give it some data. I have to say what the request body is.
Yes.
Well, what is the request body? Well, it's this field, right?
Yep.
Well, there is a way for us to...
So you want to do this recursively?
No, hang on. You're getting too excited. Hang on.
I'm not getting excited, I'm getting confused. I am actually getting confused.
So what we want here is to have the request body the same way we had the request body in Postman.
Yep.
But this time we want to do that programmatically in JavaScript. Yeah. Well, there is a simple way for you to do that. It's called form data. It comes with JavaScript, comes with the browser. Okay. You can use form data. And you have to say what the data is.
Yeah.
Well, what is the data? It's this very field.
Yeah, input text,
Yeah. So here,
that's what I'm asking. Like, how are you calling... Okay, recursion is calling the same function from inside of itself with different parameters. Like, you can change that. Here, the thing is, it's not a function. So this is an object. Input type text is an object. OnChange is the function. It would be recursion if you called OnChange a million times over.
Yeah, no recursion.
However,
forget about recursion.
Yeah, my question is, how do you call the object that initiates?
Excellent question.
That is why I'm confused. I understand recursion of all things.
Don't worry about recursion. If you have never heard, if you signed up for this course and you have never heard of recursion, don't worry, you don't have to learn about it right now, okay?
Probably have to learn it.
Here is how you do this. We have never used this argument, right?
Yes.
There is no argument here, but in fact you can have an argument for the event, the OnChange that happens when someone types something. That's an event. And in the event, you can say, what is the target? And now you get a hold of the field that was modified. Okay? So that's part of it. But the problem is the form data doesn't work with a field. It works with a whole form. And we don't have a form here. So we should wrap the whole thing with a form.
Should it not be outside of the text box, checkbox?
You mean swapping these two lines?
No. These two lines. Input type checkbox and form.
This? Oh, well, yeah. It doesn't really matter if you have this in this order. Hang on, let me see if I know this. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have it in this order or in this order, because the checkbox is not harmful. But yeah, we can do it like this if you prefer. And we have to give the input a name, and that's what we did in Postman, right? We said that the name was description.
Yes.
So we have to say name equals description.
Okay.
And now here with the event target, we got a hold of the input, but we actually want the form, which is the parent. So we can say parent.
Parent. Yeah, that's straightforward.
And it's complaining about something, and I think that is IntelliJ that isn't smart enough to realize that form data can take a form as an argument. But I think that this is good enough.
Try running it, we'll find out.
So we run and refresh. Oh, I can do one better. I can show you side by side. Oh, I thought this was going to work. So there may be some errors.
Oh, I might know. Can you go there? Can you go to the code?
To the code? Yes.
If I put... No, it seems fine. I don't know if the whole form data logic works, but it seems okay.
Yeah, let's see what the requests are when we type something. This is small, man. This is very small. Stop recording. I have no idea how to operate this. Let me refresh. And try to find some put requests in the middle of all this. They just keep coming. Stop. All right. The requests are still happening, but it stopped recording. Now let's try to find the number 3. Yeah, all right, there. So put with no content, so it appears to be happy. Form data. The form data is empty.
Yeah.
So I may have a mistake in this part of the code. I'm not sure what the mistake could be. So let's try this by hand. So here we have selected the input, and now it's available to us as $0. So we can come to the console and refer to it as $0.
Yeah.
And then parent, not pattern, parent element. That's what it was, parent element.
Okay, yeah, IntelliJ is happy now.
No, it's not. It's still complaining. The problem is with form data. It doesn't know how to handle form data. Okay, so now we refresh because we have restarted the server, and we can see the two side by side.
Refresh there as well.
Refresh there. And now it updates everything in real time.
Oh,
I also want to show this. Emoji works.
Okay, that's nice. So you do have UTF-8 encoding then?
Yeah, so Unicode is all working, which used to be a nightmare back in the day. But these
now
days,
it's standardized.
Yeah. You know one reason why I want to put the two lines that we were discussing about in this order? So hang on. This order.
Why?
Because it will look nicer.
It will be together, okay.
Yeah. And because this checkbox doesn't even have a name, it doesn't even get passed as an argument.
Yeah, that's what I was more worried about, because...
So form data is smart enough. This guy is smart enough to realize that, oh, this guy doesn't have a name, so I won't even put it in the form.
Okay, can you refresh?
So refresh now. It looks nicer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we can mark this, and we have completed this task. I will create a pull request.
I'll do all the housekeeping separately.
Off camera.
Yeah.
And coming back to the board, the next episode
You need to refresh, do you?
No, because I have not really closed this.
No, just the 7 on 7.
Yeah.
Next episode, we're gonna do some refactoring and realize how code standards work.
Yeah, because now the application is completely working.
Yeah.
The application is working, man. We did this. So we have
everything. Took us long enough, but yeah, we did this.
And there are huge hacks.
Yeah.
And it's not well engineered. It's a first sketch.
Exactly.
And we have to review some things
so
and change the way things are working.
That's what we're going to do.
We have many things to review. We may review some of them on camera. Some of them we may review off
if
camera.
they're trivial, we're not going to put it on video. Just do it and document it somewhere.
Yeah.
And we can do this then.
Yeah. All right. See you on the next one.
Yeah, that was fruitful.